We continue hearing from those who feel the impact of President Nelson's loss. Today, I spoke with former Senator Mitt Romney about President Nelson's death. He talked about his lived experiences and feelings, as well as where the church goes from here. I first want to talk to you about this. We have spent the past few hours really focusing on President Nelson's legacy, kind of the impact he has had. And I saw you on social media, you mentioned that for you and for Anne, his kindness is really what stands out. Can you kind of tell me what got you to that conclusion and that point?
Well, we've watched him, as many people have, on TV and in the news media, and see him traveling around the world, and the way he looks at children and people of all different backgrounds, and the warmth he exudes. But then there was an occasion where Ann and I got a chance to sit down and talk with him, and we came away with just a feeling that, yes, he's a prophet, but he's a person of extraordinary warmth and caring, modesty, and kindness. And actually, at church today, a young man said that his grandmother needed a heart operation some years ago. They were a poor family at the time, couldn't afford it. They approached then Dr. Nelson and asked if he would do the surgery at no charge, and he readily agreed. So I think his life is pretty much an example of a person of extraordinary kindness and generosity.
And as always, when someone, especially of President Nelson's legacy and reputation, passes, I feel like we only hear more good things and the best qualities after they're gone. Obviously, you, with your political career, your religious career as well, you've had the opportunity and been allowed to see people in many different areas and different communities. We always hear about how the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is a worldwide church. From your perspective, what do you think President Nelson's legacy will be, not just for members of this faith, but for all?
Well, I think the fact that he reached out throughout the world and really opened up Africa in many respects. It had been technically opened in the past, but the growth of the church in Africa has just exploded. And then he took temples. He built almost 200 new temples that he's announced in places where typically there have not been temples in the past. And so he's taken the church on a worldwide basis. At the same time, he had some extraordinarily prescient and I believe inspired remarks about the people of America and the people of the world needed to be peacemakers and to find ways to bridge differences between us. Politically, the only time there was any ever question that came to me of a political nature from the church was with regards to defense of marriage and defense of religion. It's the only time in 6 years in the Senate that I ever had any requests from the church. And again, it was finding a way to reach out and touch others and to show a warm and inclusive personality for the church and for him personally.
President Nelson was obviously an elderly man, the oldest president the church has ever had. Yet, how do you think, as someone who is 101 years old, how was he able to connect to people of all ages in the church, in the world? And how do you think he was able to address the needs of people?
You know, I have to say, I think it begins with the fact that he was extraordinarily agile physically. All right. I mean, I remember going on a stage to speak with him at an event in Salt Lake City. And I walked up the stairs. There were 2 or 3 little stairs that took you to the platform. He jumped up and bounded over to the podium. So he didn't come across as an old man that was out of touch and not listening. Instead, in part because of his personal warmth and the intense focus that he gave to people he was speaking to, you recognize that this is a person who listens to you, is concerned about you, is fighting for your welfare. And I think people respond in kind. When they know someone cares for them, they care back.
Do you know what that is interesting that that is one thing I always noticed about him. No matter what age, every time you saw him seated, he really would. He didn't even use his hands, I don't think. The core strength, I was always so impressed watching him whenever he did that. You shared that experience with us. Any other personal moments or experiences you shared with President Nelson that you might feel comfortable sharing with us today?
Well, I got the occasion with Ann, a great honor to go and meet him in his office. And I'm not someone who's known for being at a loss for words, but I didn't know what to say. And he graciously took my hand and Ann's hand and told us that he loves us, that he loves the church, that he loves what members like ourselves are doing to try and improve our lives. I told him how much I enjoyed what he says in conference. I have to tell you, some of his remarks, like think celestial, that had an impact on me. And be a peacemaker. Those things had an impact. He told us to read the Book of Mormon every day. I wish I'd been perfect at doing that, but I haven't. But he had such an enormous impact on my life that even though he was prophet for only, 6 or 7 years, those years are years that have been shaped in large measure by virtue of his character and his prophetic guidance.
Mr. Romney, while I have you, obviously a big topic today is President Nelson's passing, but also the tragedy that happened at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints meeting house in Michigan, that shooting, that deadly shooting. Can you share with us your thoughts on that for both members and non-members as we work to move on and come together from a tragedy like this?
Well, at this stage, we don't know what the motive was for the person who carried out this brutal attack. Apparently, this individual set fire to the building as well and perhaps tried to keep people from escaping from the fire. We don't know how many victims there will be, but the initial count is frightening. And any death and any injury is too many. And so, of course, it's an extraordinary tragedy. People who are worshiping God, whether that's across the world or here of any faith, they have to recognize that that is something to be protected. It is, if you will, divine. And doing this in attacking people in a house of worship is akin to attacking children in schools. These things are simply inexplicable. There is simply no justification whatsoever. And I would note that, again, going back to President Nelson and his call to be peacemakers, I think those of us in public life, including myself, have to be more careful in the selection of words that we use, not to demonize and not to suggest hate-like attitudes towards people we disagree with, or who are on the other side of the aisle, or who are of different faiths or different ethnicities or of different sexual orientation. We simply have to recognize we're all children of the same God, and any blow against any one of the children of God is a blow against all of us.
Going along with that, Mr. Romney, many people, especially here in Utah, in less than 24 hours of facing the loss of a prophet and facing this tragedy in Michigan, what are your words to them of where we go from here?
Well, I think they're two very different things. It's sad to lose our prophet. There's no question about that. At the same time, we think about what must be a joyous reunion when he gets together with some of the brethren he's worked with in the past, President Hinckley and President Monson, and maybe gets a chance to even say hello to Joseph Smith and Brigham Young. What a reunion that might be. And so joyous in that regard. But then the news from Grand Blanc, Michigan, where a church was attacked and people were injured, or in one case, at least one individual killed, that just tears at our heart. And we fall to our knees and pray for them, but pray also for people who are so misguided that they would suggest that violence is ever an answer in facing people who are different than ourselves.